Let me say a few things about reliability. Often my clients will say, yes, but I really need a reliable car because I have children with me all the time. I can't afford to break down, things like that. And I always give them this comparison. If you've ever gone to an airport and boarded a plane, you never question the age of the plane. Do you know the average age of a plane in the air is 13 years old? That's the average. Some are 20 years old, some are nearly new, but the average age of a plane is 13 years. And in fact, if you search for this on the internet and you search reliability aircraft age, and you'll find there's no correlation between the age of the aircraft and its reliability. And that is because of stringent maintenance requirements on airplanes. They can't become airborne until they've gone through their maintenance. It's true with anything that moves, cars included. It's about maintenance, not age. So when I said earlier that depreciation will always cost more than the maintenance on an older but well-built vehicle, that's pretty much always true. Let's talk about that. What is our solution? The solution is to look for older but well-built vehicles. And the important distinction here is well-built. I'm not talking about any old car, and I'm not talking necessarily about a really old car. That kind of depends upon your personal preferences. I'm talking about well-built but older and hopefully well-cared-for vehicles. So let's talk about ways to do this. Now, the first challenge for anyone is to find the cash to do this. Because these kind of purchases are, yes, you can get loans for them, but it's really more of a cash transaction. So how are you going to find the cash for that older but well-built vehicle? Well, for many of you that have children, you know what the child tax credits do for you every year. You fill out your taxes and you get, X number of dollars. It's typical for a family of four to get $4,000 to $10,000, depending upon what they're doing with their withholding. That is a great time to be shopping for a used vehicle. You can find things in that price range that are still have a lot of useful life left in them. And so that's a great way. But what if you don't? Well, another way is, what if you don't have child tax credits? What's another way of doing this? Well, if you're making car payments now, you may just have to suffer with it, and eventually you're going to get it to the point where it pays off. And then if you keep paying yourself that payment and start building up a cash reserve, the next time you need to replace a car, you will more than likely have maybe not enough to completely finance the car purchase, but a lot closer than if you don't do that. So having the cash is a bit of a challenge, but once things start paying off, start paying yourself and set that money aside. Now, what kind of vehicles should you look for? This is very important. I personally prefer greatly to buy vehicles only from individuals. I really like to meet the previous owners because I can tell a lot about the maintenance that's been done on the car by meeting the owner, especially if I can go to their home and see the car in their own location. In fact, when I see pictures online of a used car I'm considering, I look as much around the car as I look at the car. I'm looking at the neighborhood. I'm looking at the lawn. I'm looking at the flower beds. I'm looking at how they take care of stuff. If this is a family that really takes care of all that other stuff, they probably also really took care of that car. And it's even a plus, in addition to that, if they say, we have records. We've been keeping records on this car since new or since we've had it, and we have this whole pile of receipts of what we've done to this car. That's a really good car to buy, most likely, if it was a well-built car. Now, what do I mean by well-built? I really mean cars that rate good with Consumer Reports. My preference, because I'm usually buying cars that are more than 10 years old, is Toyotas and Hondas. I like to buy from the individual. I like to see records if possible, but that's not always possible. So where do you find these cars? Well, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. There's many car sites, cars.com, Auto Trader. You can even use search engines such as autotempest.com, which will search a lot of sites for a particular car you're looking for within a certain mileage range. It speeds up the process of looking. As I said, I like to find a car from an individual, not a car lot. Some things that I stay away from are cars that do not have license plates on the back. These are almost always people that are flipping cars, and they don't have a history with the car. They don't really know if it's reliable. They don't really know if it has any quirks because they haven't lived with it long enough. They may have only had it for a week or two and they're trying to flip it quick. I especially stay away from cars that are shown in car washes because they've just washed the car, there's no license plate, it's wet all around the car, and that probably means they just bought it at an auction site. They hosed it off, taken a picture, trying to make a quick profit. Don't even go look at those cars. I like to buy from individuals. I can tell a lot about the car by the individual who previously owned it. Now there's a very sweet spot to own a vehicle. I call it the vehicle sweet spot. And that is when the car is still in the middle of its useful life. Let's say it's a Honda or a Toyota, and let's just say it's got 170,000 miles. So it's kind of midlife. And you get it from an owner that's conscientious and has done all the work, and it doesn't need anything right now. If it's a car that's got a timing belt, the timing belt has just been done because it's about the time for the second timing belt to put on. So you can drive it for another 80,000 miles and not put the timing belt on, which is kind of an expensive, every $70,000 mile major service interval. So I buy that car at 170,000 and I put 2 or 3 years worth of mileage on that car, which for me is about 15,000 miles a year. I put about 45, 50,000 miles and I get up to about 230, 240. And I'm not to the next major service interval yet. Now's the time to sell. I'll sell that car to the next owner. I'll take a small hit, but not that large, and I'll move on to another car that I can find in my price range. Now let me say something else about the depreciation issue. Depreciation is caused by 2 factors. It's caused by the age of the car, but also the mileage. A brand new car will lose value simply because of the passage of time. You can take a brand new car home, put it on a flatbed, back it into your garage, put no miles on it, and a year later it's worth a whole lot less than you paid for it. That's not true with an older vehicle. If you buy a car over 10 years old, you can do the same thing and it loses almost no value because you've not put any miles on it. I like to buy cars that the time value of depreciation has run its course. And the only reason it loses value is because I'm putting miles on it. So if I buy that car, back to my example, 170,000 miles, I put 40,000 miles on it. Let's say I pay $5,000 for that car, 170,000 mile Toyota. I drive it for 50,000 miles. It's now got about 230,000 miles. And let's say I sell it for 38. Well, I've only lost $1,200 plus maintenance. And it may not have needed any maintenance, but if it did, that's part of my cost. But that's very cheap driving compared to the alternative of buying a new car and facing that 50% guaranteed loss, which is called depreciation, over those first 4 years. That is the sweet spot when it's really nice to own a car, not spend a lot on it, get reliably from point A to point B, and free up tons of money in your personal budget.